normal pivot. 200 stages are separated.
देख सकते हैं कि हम पूरी तरह से सेफली और सॉफ्टली चंद्रमा की सतह है। ये हम लोगों के लिए बहुत ही गर्व की बात है।
India scripted global history when Chandrayaan III soft landed nearer the south pole of the moon. India's moon walk. I am inside the clean room at the U.R. Rao Satellite Center where the Chandrayaan III satellite was fabricated. And I have with me Shri S Somanath. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Mr. Somanath is the chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization and the person who spearheaded the team for Chandrayaan III. In ISRO, if things go wrong, the blame goes to the chairperson. If things go right, it is the team which benefits. And under Chairman Somanath's leadership, we have seen teams flourishing and teams being showcased. And for our viewers, Somanath, his name means Lord of the Moon. And even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his phone call to him on that very fateful day, referred to that. Mr. Somanath, how complex was it for you and your team to pull off Chandrayaan III after the debacle with Chandrayaan II?
As you know, Chandrayaan II was a very hard learning for us. After the ability to not to soft land after Chandrayaan II, it went through such a rigorous review of understanding what could have gone wrong. Like I said earlier, it was not possible to recover the debris and then study it. So it has to be simulated, synthesized on the ground to look at the possibilities. And this was done very well, the first part of it. So it was a very tedious journey in which many of us participated, from various skill sets participated. And that contributed to the understanding of the problem resident within it. And it was very clearly identified that it's not just one issue that was causing that problem. It is a chain of events. As we know, in any failure or a problem, it's not just one event that actually triggers. Multiple windows are open which aligns each other, we always say. And once that happens, a certain event happens. The protection mechanism available for one failure, one problem was not effective. Then the second is not effective. The third is not effective. This is a classical case of any such thing that can happen. Once you understand that, it's a huge learning for us. The primary point is that we were not able to simulate everything on the ground before the Chandrayaan II. But now we have everything simulated in the real scenario, Chandrayaan III. So we have huge amount of data, and with the data, we have more confidence to modify it. Now, once you look at modification, we need to look at whether we need to correct only those issues that we have seen or potential issues that can crop up later based on the understanding. And this is again debated for another long periods of time. What should be done in extra, what type of strengthening that we need to do. And this is again debated over a long periods of time. It also called for new developments of instruments. It also called for new software simulation. It also called for development of test beds of various nature and number of hundreds of tests that need to be done, which you couldn't do in the Chandrayaan II time frame. I think all of this.
How did you convert those, what I call, and you don't call them, I call them, the 20 minutes of terror into 20 minutes of joy? And we are both wearing this very clean gowns because we are in the clean room. These are to prevent charge from flowing here and there, and you can see there is equipment around us which is really Chandrayaan III equipment. So tell me, how did you manage to convert those 20 minutes of terror into 20 minutes of joy?
See, for any mission of this magnitude, if you have to convert any risk element to looking like such a child's play, it is a result of long years of hard work. So 20 minutes of terror, if you for you call it,
As I call it.
to 20 minutes of joy, I will say it's a work of years of hard work. And that results in the 20 minutes of success. No. So I will only attribute to the patience and persistence of my teammates who took all the burden of doing things which they wanted to do so much in the last so many years. They successfully did it without any error or deviations. There were hundreds of committees who suggested do this, do that, do over and above this. Patiently did all of them, took catalog all of them, found results of them, and then again read it if there were some corrections needed. So the terror became a joy only because of their life was so miserable for last so many years.
And you are a leader who leads with a smiling face. And you in a way I have seen you send down a message which is of happiness. Is that how the teams you were able to motivate?
I believe in delegation. See, if there is somebody who is ready to do things, hand it over to them to do. I don't have to take a decision when somebody is ready to take the decision. So I only make sure decisions are taken at levels which is suitable to be taken. So one of this management lesson I identified long back is that everything need not be decided by me. I need to play roles of a mentor. This is again yet another lesson I learned long back. So whenever there is a chain of hierarchy in the system, including the director, the project directors, deputy directors, engineers, and also the other seniors who participate in it, you always share your ideas. The ideas will crystallize over a period of time, and this will become convincing to the team itself. Yeah, it is better to go in this direction instead of I impose anything on anybody. So this imposition, firing mode, etc., is not the habit of mine. I have always learned it. I take people along. That I believe that they have much more capability than an individual like me can have. Collectively, we are such a great force. So I realized it long back, and as an individual human being, you can't do much, accomplish much, unless there is thousands of people who move along with you. So the only idea that you can say is share your ideas, make that idea everybody's idea. That's the only way.
Now, here we can see this is essentially, I am told, stuff where you were actually doing stuff as Chandrayaan III and Vikram Lander and Gyaan were on the moon surface. What can we see here? And there are hundreds of wires. How do you know what is where?
See, this is a hardware simulator where the Chandrayaan III lander was put in as an electronic simulation. So all the electronic packages which are part of the Chandrayaan III lander were put in not in the actual shape, but in a distributed platform. They are connected through power supply, they are connected through various instrumentation measurements, they are also connected through our networks, and this runs the program. And we were able to run it in a remote manner from the control center to check any software change and then see the result of it also. So before we actually implement anything, any change or code or routine, it is actually tested here.
So you were actually first sending the commands onto this test bed and then bumping it up?
No, that is as a simulation, and we see the result back displayed, and if you think everything is going fine, then that is sent up to the satellite as a telecommand. Yeah.
Now let's take a look at both. You have scale models of the Chandrayaan III.
The orbiter, the propulsion module.
This is the propulsion module.
And the lander, the Vikram.
Okay. Now tell me, in the propulsion module itself was carrying only one instrument, and let's leave it there, which is looking for life.
Yes.
And what simulations of life would be on exoplanets, and that's an experiment which is still ongoing?
It's still ongoing.
Okay. Now let's look at the Vikram lander. So what did you do on the Vikram lander to make sure that it succeeds this time?
See, there were certain...
You can point out.
Yeah, there were certain deficiencies that we found out last time. One of them is the ability to handle mission dispersions. So to handle mission dispersions, what we need to have is you need to have more propellant. If you have to load more propellant, then you can of course handle uncertainties on the course. It can be in the injection conditions of the launch vehicle, it can be in the deboost phase failures of certain natures, propulsion under performances, or even inability to land at the nominal condition and go to off-nominal condition. So we wanted to load more propellant. So the propellant tanks which are you can see here, it's got little bit stretched and loaded more propellant. And then we added solar panels. There was only one side solar panel last time. Now this time solar panels are added at multiple phases. The reason is simple. If this phase doesn't face the sun on the landing day, due to whatever reason its orientation change, it won't survive on the moon. In next one day itself the battery will be drained. So we looked at how we can survive in case of a little error in that. The third is this the momentum wheels which are there, the reaction wheels which are there, it's also made more capable of control. They are much more powerful now. And the landing legs. The landing legs were earlier having certain capability to land with a velocity of around 2 meters per second. Now it is now increased to 3 meters per second, almost 1 meter per second additional capability to handle vertical velocity. So it is strengthened. Its attachment at these places have been made stronger. The energy absorbing capability of this has been, the collapsing material there has been improved. So this is the...
And you landed at a very nominal velocity.
Well within the nominal velocity, or even lower than that we expected.
How did you do that?
No, it all happens because of algorithm. That I will come to you later. Now, when we did all of these changes, of course they added additional instruments on it, like the laser Doppler velocimeter. We added additional redundancies on it. The power transmission has been slightly improved in terms of the data transmission rates. The battery capacity slightly increased. But when you did all of this, its mass also increased. When the mass increased, we found that the 5-engine configuration cannot be used because landing time. These are the engines. You can see now there are 4 engines. And the central engine used to be there in the last lander. The central engine is now removed because now we have to land it with at least 2 engines because the mass is more. We need the reaction thrust to be higher than last time, and the single engine could not do that. So one engine removed and corresponding paraphernalia also removed, so we saved some mass like that. So some mass reduction happened, some mass addition happened. And since payloads are not there on board the orbiter now, whatever mass that was saved has been added to this, so the net mass of the whole craft remained almost the same, which made us possible to launch the Chandrayaan III using GSLV Mark III rocket itself.
Now, Vikram soft landed, created history. You said we have reached the moon, and the Prime Minister spoke in his most eloquent fashion. That was one successful soft landing. Was that the mission goal? Other than the science, we'll come to the science.
See, what we missed last time was the successful soft landing. Without successful soft landing, there is no further mission. So it doesn't mean that the only goal was successful soft landing. Absolutely not. The mission of Chandrayaan III is a scientific mission, and successful soft landing is a prerequisite for doing it. And after that, there were many other challenges like the rover, the rover to come out after the guides have to be deployed. The rover must come out, it must move on the moon. Then the payloads have to be deployed, which includes the Chaste payload, the Rambha payload, and also the ILSA payloads have to be deployed. We must get the data from them. Also the rover has to do the maneuvering. We should get, last time we didn't have good cameras, so this time we had beautiful cameras which actually captured the picture of landing.
Now, you did one. And then towards the end you surprised not just people like me who are so logged into the mission, but all of India and the world by doing what is called a hop test. What is a hop test and what did it achieve?
It gives us more hope in the future, so that we can do more.
Hop gave hope.
I will say it is it's an opportunity for us to do more with whatever we have today. Ultimately, why we go to moon is to look at how moon can be useful to humanity. For that, we need to go to moon and come back. It's not just landing there. We need to come back from moon and then either take material back and forth. So one day we need to take off from moon and then come back to Earth. So we looked at how we can, using this success, how we can make use of another opportunity. Why don't we take it off from moon and go to orbit? This is our first thought. But then we realized that the current capability is not enough for us to take off from moon and go to an orbit.
Not enough fuel.
Not enough fuel. Then we looked at how to, and nobody has ever taken off from a craft like this.
True.
So whoever had taken off was actually another module took off from this module. So then we looked at how we can really take off from the surface and move to another location, do some experiment. Then there were many questions asked. All these are afterthoughts, you should understand. whether these legs would have actually pierced inside, whether it is stuck there, will it come off, whether it will be unsymmetrical stuck, getting stuck there, whether it will tilt in this whole process if the firing is not okay, and what is the guarantee the sensors are still functioning, what is the guarantee the propulsion system which is supposed to be closed by this time still will come on. All these questions came.
So this was an afterthought. After the mission, you did not plan it earlier.
It's not planned earlier. It's not
Nimbleness
Not-
is the art of doing work with you.
Correct. So again, this idea we mooted into the team, and the team looked at it in various ways. Each one of them gave their views, their apprehension, there were positive signs, and all of us sat together to decide whether what is that you can do best with it. We know that after 14 days anyway, it's going to be sleeping, and if you wait after 14 days and next wake up time, and again I can do, but there is no guarantee. But if it has to be done, it has to be done now. Then if it is very good, after 14 days, if it is again back healthy, I can do more, but at least let us do something today. Then we have to go very cautiously. We worked on various approaches. Let us check whether the propulsion system is healthy. That we did a small trial firing.
Yeah, you did a 300
Very short duration firing. We found that everything is functioning very well. Then we had the courage to do the full firing to hop. And all this was done in a matter of few hours. Not really, we didn't take much of time. We standing like this. All of us decided to do this.
Wonderful.
So
essentially, if I say, for India, at the cost of one mission of 700 crores, you have essentially given us a full second mission, because this experiment of hop would have happened on a second mission.
could have,
So
yes.
double benefit out of one mission.
Okay, we can get even 3 times of it, provided if it wakes up on say 22nd September, we may do much more. But then it's a question of what are the limitations that are offered by the instruments and capabilities. But I am very happy that we could do this. It's not just for the demonstrating mission, it's actually gave confidence to our team here in who built the Chandrayaan III, that the understanding they got out of that HOPE experiment is tremendous, I must tell you. The ability to reprogram the whole mission, do simulations in ground to understand it, to remove the worries of the mind. No, everybody has mindsets of doing things which are never thought about. Correct. I told exploratory missions are of this nature. We must track paths which have never been traveled, and if you do not have the courage to travel in that path, we are not going to make history. So in fact, I told to my director of URSC also this, that unless you take that decision to go on paths which nobody has ever went into, we are not going to make history. I think that because of their courage and conviction, they took that decision to do. I am very happy about it.
So a double soft landing nearer the south pole of the moon, very hard for anybody to replicate. Now, you have enough. I'm told you have about 90 kilograms of fuel left, and if it wakes up, great. If it doesn't, you can still do a hop because the fuel will not go anywhere.
No, there are many challenges which I will not discuss here. It's not like that fuel is still there. Many things can go wrong while it is in such a low temperature. There are possibilities of freezing of the liquid to very high low temperature, which you need huge amount of energy to bring back to liquid stage. We'll have to see how everywhere it is liquid, still not crystal solvent behind. And if you fire it with those crystals there, the propulsion system will fail. There are problems of electronic circuits getting damaged because all materials may not be compatible for low temperature.
Low temperature.
So there could be power failures, there can be intermittency, and some of those corruption would have happened in the software who do not know when under extremely low temperatures. Battery would have gone bad. No, there are many things are possible.
Favors the prepared mind. So serendipity may actually go in your favor. Let us hope and wait for that day.
Yeah.
Now, you also had scientific instruments on this, and both on Gyaan and Vikram you had scientific instruments. Have you been able to complete the science part of the mission?
As we targeted for the 14-day mission, I think all the scientific measurement part is completed. All instruments were deployed. In fact, Chaste went into 2 different locations and did the measurement. The ILSA also go to 2 different locations. Remba payload, of course, did beautiful measurement of the electron densities near the surface of the moon. Then both the payloads on the rover, the laser based
essentially
spectroscope.
the science part, we are satisfied with what we have got.
From the data point of view, we are satisfied. The good data has come really. Now it has to go through lot of analysis. Because even Chandrayaan I data is still producing publications. So it takes years of understanding of the data, modeling, simulation, corroborating with other observers.
And I comprehend you're an engineer and a person who gives us the mission, and the science is done by the scientists. Now let's turn around and talk about, here we have the actual working model of the rover.
Yeah, Gyaan is here.
Tell me. Now,
so this is
so small.
It is not small. It is big to me. It has made history. You are calling it small?
It is beautifully small. It is not large. It almost seems like a toy car.
But you just look at it, the type of systems on board. It has a beautiful computer, it has robotic systems, it has vision, it has two important payloads with alpha particle emitter and laser to do the spectroscopy, the drives on the wheels, power generation by itself. Such a complex machine.
Sure.
And you call it too small for it?
I look at it, see, you look at other rovers, sometimes they look, but it is beautifully delivered.
Yeah.
Now there is one issue, and we can see there, if you can see, there are markings on the wheel, which shows the ISRO logo.
Correct.
Now, when we saw the images on the lunar surface, we did not see the ISRO logo on the markings, but yes, we have left an indelible mark nearer the South Pole, which will never go away, like Neil Armstrong's footprints, they will never go away. Why did we not see the markings?
See, these markings were designed for certain terrain of the moon, and when we did the lunar simulant test here with the regolith, which we call, it was done with certain consistency, density, compactness, compaction of the moon surface, and this impression was getting created on that. But when you actually went into the site, the terrain looked entirely different. And we have seen also in the landing process, the dust coming out was extremely less. It was also surprising to us why so much of dust is not coming out. Even the wheel started moving, the impression of the wheel that was not created on the surface. And you can see the horizontal strips on the wheel. Even the dust which was coming out as forming blocks itself. That means they are sticking together each other. So they were not behaving like a dust. It was more of like a little sticky material there. So we'll have to understand why the material on the surface of the moon is little sticky. Possibly due to that, the impression was not well formed there to remain as an image that could be captured. Yet another important issue is that we would have done this rolling over on a very smooth, plain surfaces where the impressions are created. But a little waviness on the surface may leave no mark on it. So possibly, if you really look at very sharp on it, we can see those images still there. We will try to enhance that image and show you one day.
In ISRO, if things go wrong, the blame goes to the chairperson. If things go right, it is the team which benefits. And under Chairman Somanath's leadership, we have seen teams flourishing and teams being showcased. And for our viewers, Somanath, his name means Lord of the Moon. And even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his phone call to him on that very fateful day, referred to that. Let's broaden the scope of the discussion we have from just Chandrayaan to look at the future. And Mr. Somanath, and I have repeatedly said Lord of the Moon, in that context you have also said you are an explorer. So from the perspective of an individual, and I'm not talking to you now as a to respond as chairman of ISRO, is there a need for India and Indians to go and make a village or habitat the moon and Mars?
There is no doubt about that goal, that if it is humanity is going to travel beyond Earth, habitat creation on moon, Mars and exoplanets, Indians must be there. I think I have no second thought about it. It's possibly we are thinking ourselves so inferior today that we are not technologically advanced, financially very powerful nation, and we always think that we are poor, we can't invest on all of this. These type of mindsets are still running in us. I believe that this has to go. And for a nation which think that they are the one who are creators of knowledge, creators of the technology, they only have the ability to dream bigger. I think we have to start dreaming bigger. There is no escape from that. See, for every nation, like even the nation like USA, USSR, they became big only because they started dreaming about becoming a world power. The question of the world power is very, very important. What type of power that you want to wield? I think India has been giving out the message that we would definitely want to be the world power, but not the power that always you talk about, like the military power, the strength to capture others. By giving leadership to this world in terms of the technology, in terms of good living, happy place to live, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, I think these messages have been giving out very, very widely. I believe India should become a technology leader in the future. When you are a technology leader, you are naturally somebody who have no second thought about possibilities, like going to moon and Mars, creating colonies, going to exosolar planets, creating human habitats outside the solar system must be one of the targets at least today for us.
So you think India should be doing that?
There is no doubt about it.
As Mr. Somanath and not Chairman Somanath, you think it's a worthwhile goal for us in future? You and I may or may not be around to see some of that.
See, that's not important for anybody. Histories are created by people who think that beyond their lifetime.
True.
They think about 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, and people are written about it, they thought about it, and their thoughts and their vision is what is making us today. I think we are standing on the shoulders of the people who imagine things, and it is our responsibility to do our part of the job today. We may vanish in another few years from now, but for it's our next generation of people which will be defined by the boundary of our nation, who will do fantastic things in the future.
Now, towards that, you have a program which is called Gyaan, which is to send an Indian astronaut into space from Indian soil on an Indian rocket on the launch vehicle Mark III, which is really considered your baby in a way because you crafted a lot of it. How is Gyaan shaping up?
Gyaan is going very strong, very well now, though Gyaan have faced its own challenges in the early part. Of course, we gave a very highly optimistic schedule of building the Gyaan mission in 4 years. Of course, we know it is not an easy task. But I have taken over after that. I have redefined the goals because we don't want time loss like what happened in Chandrayaan II. From 2 to 3 took almost 4 years to recover. So any failure or any issues in any missions of this nature takes a huge amount of time to recover. It's better to do it the very first time successfully than to lose our face and do it again. So we redefined the whole thing in terms of the technology readiness of all of this, and we understand that it is going to take time, and nothing to be ashamed about taking it time because it has its own challenges. One of them is that we were originally thinking that we have to procure certain technology from outside for many of those critical systems, and many of them are not forthcoming. We know that today. Even if it is offered at very high cost and long periods of time. Both are not acceptable to us. Many of the design definitions, etc., had to be redone for us to make this designs our own. For example, environmental control and life support system is actually freshly designed. As far as the rocket is concerned, it has fully gone to the human rating work. I think I am very happy about that part, and we have already inducted the LVM-3 into commercial missions with all those changes, and we are going to fly continuously so as to give more reliability to the vehicle. But the crew module, which is again a huge challenge, we have found that its mass is increasing, it has to be redesigned to contain the masses. We also looked at how to design complex electronics with high levels of redundancy. That is also taking its own time. We also have to develop the crew escape system, which requires large number of tests to prove, as we did for Chandrayaan II, it is hundreds of tests. There is no escape from doing hundreds of tests. Every day there are at least 2-3 tests happening on Gyaan. Possibly all of them are not being announced in terms of devices, in terms of systems, subsystems, vibration testing. We are getting ready for a test of the test vehicle D1, possibly by next month itself. So that itself is a huge work, almost equal to the full scale Gyaan work. Only the rocket part is a different rocket. Now that has to be repeated once again. We have to repeat with the unmanned mission. Then unmanned missions have to be repeated at least 1 or 2 times more until we reach the human space flight mission. So the work is progressing very well, and there are resource crunches. Resource crunch is not because of that there is a money crunch. The engineering resource crunch is there in India. For example, if the crew module manufacturing cannot be done in India. We tried our best to create the facility here. It is not getting created. We have to depend on foreign sources, but we are trying to do it in HAL. We also find machining and manufacturing capability limitations. We are not getting it at the rate as much as we want from Indian industries. But we can't enhance that production rate because we need huge investment, which we are unable to do today.
Now,
there are many challenges of that nature.
Within Gaganyaan, there is a new specific goal which Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden, when they met twice in both the joint statements, that an joint mission will be there by India and USA to send an astronaut to the International Space Station.
Yes.
How is work progressing on that? Because that may happen before Gaganyaan comes in.
The goal of that mission is to send an astronaut to International Space Station using the American available vehicle, so that one of our astronauts who will go in Gaganyaan will get trained. So we will use it as an opportunity to gain more insight into the Gaganyaan program. And definitely we have gained a lot of insight by participating in the Russian training program. Our astronauts have participated in the Star City. They underwent training there, and they are trained in the Russian way of being an astronaut. But being cosmonaut. But we call, okay. But some of them, if get trained in the American way of doing it, I think that will be an additional input to us to design the Gaganyaan better manner.
So can you do it in 2024 as both the leaders want it to be done?
Yes, it can be done. But then any astronaut which is identified for it, maybe one or two of them, has to undergo training program, because going to International Space Station requires long periods of training, adaptation, and also learning the culture of working with the teams there. So that will happen now. And in US now everything is commercial. It is not the governmental program. So we have to enter into contracts which will cost you money. So that negotiation and discussion is currently progressing. And once you have the reasonable good understanding of the amount of training required, it's not only for astronauts that we need to train
The whole team.
That who will prepare the astronauts, the medical team, the ground team, the flight directors, and all of them need to be trained so as to make that mission possible. So we have already identified the people. We are continuously every week we have meetings with them online to see how we can crystallize the whole program, and within short time I am hoping that we will sign the implementation arrangements to get into the actual.
So 2024 we'll do that?
Yeah, we will do that.
Now, you said you are an explorer. Now, after Chandrayaan III's successful landing, how did you and your team celebrate that historic success?
See, we do not celebrate this manner. The classical way of celebration, I do not know how we celebrate. Our celebrations are congratulating each other and also telling them that you have more work on the way. See, that is the way we celebrate. So if you see that Chandrayaan III is not going to be the end of your program, there is going to be more of Chandrayaans and more of Mangalayans. If you tell our team, I think they are overjoyed. I think this is what is expected of this. And the next moment, each of them are preparing themselves to think about what I can do further beyond the Chandrayaan III. This becomes an important issue for them. So I understand that they are enthused by the possibility of doing greater things. Like when we were young people, we were all enthused to find new tasks. When my boss assigned me new jobs, do this also. We were actually overjoyed really, because it is an opportunity to do something in the rocket at that time. Same thing I am seeing with the youngsters here. We give them a very complex problem, very complex challenge. I think they are really fired up to do many more things, and this is the way we celebrate, by giving them complex tasks, something which they think impossible. Once you give them, that satisfies their spirit of as a scientist engineer.
How do you balance inner exploration, which is spirituality, and the scientific and technological achievement which you have? There is no doubt the world and India celebrated the success of the soft landing of Vikram. How do you combine that?
See, it is it's a long journey. Though I was not of this type of person long back, you evolve over a period of time. When I joined, I had my own limitations, both in terms of technical capability, in terms of my own personal capacity. You worked on it over a period of time in various ways. It includes my mental growth, my physical growth, my subject knowledge growth. It all happened due to various reasons, and various people that came in our path gave a lot of insight into it. It came out of that. And as far as my professional knowledge is concerned, I must tell you it's because the opportunities that I got of working with various people. I really learned new tasks, worked in domains which I never ever imagined that I will be able to understand itself. I think I had opportunity to even take decisions on domains.
But what about the inner exploration?
Inner is also like that. Inner is also like that. When you go through tormenting days, I think, don't think that everything was so nice for me in my life. I also faced huge challenges in my personal life, in my official life of various nature. Even official life that you can be, your position in the organization can itself be threatened, you can be thrown out.
Yes.
Yeah, so you are not even treated with great respect. You think that you are not the person suitable for the day. I hear all these criticisms, but you have to overcome all of this. And overcoming all of this requires certain state of mind. When you go through this, you try to look at what are the ways by which you can raise yourself above all of these silly things. And once you are reached there, you can look at people and with a smile. Their silly acts can really be ignored. You will learn how to do that. And through that process, you will develop your own self-confidence, and once you are very confident, you are not worried about any of those silly people. Okay.
You're also not worried about failure because you've done your best.
No, not now. So many years back, I have been a project director. I had a great threat of launching the GSLV Mark III X mission with every possibility of a failure. Somebody has to take a decision to launch on that day. I took that decision. I think I have been threatened that it will be a colossal failure, but there was nobody else to support. I had to take that decision, and I did it, and it was a successful thing. And many things happen in life like that. In the LVM-3, the first cryogenic engine launch, the Chandrayaan II mission where we had a problem at the launch pad where it leaked. There were hundreds of events of this nature where we were asked to take decisions, to do things, and only your inner voice helps you to take decisions at that time, to show confidence to people. And I believe always that knowledge is all there inside. That's what I always think, that I know everything. This is what I remember. I learned from this. Only thing is, you keep your eyes closed, look at it dispassionately. Things will become clear to you. It will become shown to you that it is like this.
So the 20 minutes of terror, you closed your eyes because anyways you could not have done very much.
Yeah, I closed my eyes because there is nothing more I need to do. But it is a capability of the human mind to visualize things. And I believe I have an ability to visualize the possibilities, and that has helped me in a great way.
Any message for youngsters?
They are the only future for us. I think always I connect with the youngsters, though I connect with my seniors and peers in a manner. I also have another layer of connection with the youngsters in most of the centers which I worked. Many of them are personally in connect with me, and I get their feedbacks, I get their opinions through WhatsApp, through messages or phone calls. I continuously link with them, but not everybody, because I pick up at least 5-10 people of a certain area, and I personally connect a link with them to make sure that the impression that is created by the organization, that different layers of the organization need to be understood. And they gave me the feedback. There are different channels of communication in an organization. There is a communication through my directors, there is a communication through my management structure, there is a communication through my young people, there is a communication through union people and technicians and other class. So you need to assimilate all this communication information and then understand the organization. And this is very crucial for any leadership, to understand the psychology of things happening there.
And you are a team player.
I have to be, because I realize that I am, as a person alone, I am such a weak person. But when you have so many people along with you, you are so strong. You can move things much better than anybody else can.
So excited about the future of space in India, and will India become a developed country and space technology play a role?
India will become a developed country, but whether you have a space technology or not, I have no doubt about it. Space technology today is an example by which is a technology domain we thought that it is going to be very complex. It is something not reachable for people like India, has been shown that the other way. And this is an example that it can be replicated in many other domains. And this is what we must do. See, scientific and technological findings of the primary nature is still not happening in India. You can see that the fundamental discoveries, the primary science findings, or the industrial new innovations that feed to the business are not happening in a scale which is sufficient in India today. Many of the industries are not depending on R&D of the corresponding domain to feed into the industries. I believe what need to happen tomorrow is that our big industries will become sponsor R&D in a big manner. Something like 20% of their revenue should go into R&D, and that R&D will feed into the industrial growth. New equipments, new approaches, it can be in any domain. It can be in electronics, consumer electronics, the medical diagnostic tools, computers, chips, algorithms, software tools, anything it should be adding value. Look at example. Many of the simulation tools, software tools that you have today that is purchased from outside, there is rarely anything coming from India. It's mostly coming from US and Europe. Why is our software talent is so great here, but still world-class software tools are not made in India? It is something we should worry about. Unless we are the primary source of some of the knowledge of the world, we are not going to be a technologically powerful nation. I think it can happen not from government, it will happen only from private entrepreneurs where they sponsor research, and I am very strong believer of this, that unless big players in industry invest in R&D and bank on the R&D for your commercial outcome, then only this country will change.
So is this preparing for the second innings for Somanath?
I do not know. I am already a retired person.
Anyways, always a pleasure speaking to you and learning from you the nitty-gritties and the happiness and joy which you bring to any complex mission and make it look so simple is really what India has loved that moment. And thanks a lot, and we will continue the discussions, and I wish both you, ISRO and Team India full success for a developed nation to be made, and I can't wait for 2047. I want a developed India faster than 2047. I am more impatient than Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So that was Chairman S Somanath of the Indian Space Research Organization speaking to us in the clean room of the U.R. Rao Satellite Center in Bangalore, explaining to us the complexities of Chandrayaan III and the future of space in India. India went from a moon walk to a sun dance with the Aditya mission, which is still ongoing, and there are many more beautiful missions to come. From the Shiva Shakti point on the lunar surface to the Nataraja statue at Bharat Mandapam, there is a deep connect of India, its technology and its heritage. India will succeed when we believe in ourselves, and that image of the lander on the lunar surface is the image of a Naya Bharat. With camera person Kumar inside the U.R. Rao Satellite Center, Pallav Bagla for NDTV.